Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Manage to Retain. Just to introduce you, for those who haven't come and seen one of these before, it's this idea that leadership is a moving target sometimes, and being able to see where that target has moved to can be a little difficult. So that's why I brought some experts, my friends Sherri and Lou, to the conversation, so we can figure out where that target has moved in the last day. Sherri and Lou, how you doing today?
Doing great, doing excellent. Vinay, how about yourself?
I'm super. I'm energized as usual. And I want to kind of drop directly into this. Gosh, managing people is so hard because how I showed up yesterday and how I showed up today is different, and I keep changing because my life changes, personal, professional. Things like COVID happen, countries invade other countries. Stuff happens. Mm-hmm. That makes it hard for a leader because you can't necessarily understand how your people are constantly changing. I mean, easily. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, it definitely is. What's the when to pivot and how fast to pivot is always the challenge.
Yeah. So look, if I treat somebody, I'll talk about some of my kids when they were 8 years old. If I treat them the way I treated them when they're 8, the way I treat them when they're 12, it's not going to work. Right? Because they've changed. Yeah, sure. Kids, it's maybe an easier example, but even the people in your company, they've got family issues, they've got financial issues, whatever else. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It changes them, and they bring those emotions to work, whether we realize it or not. So being able to see how that change occurs requires, as a leader, for us to ask lots of questions, but that takes lots of time. Do you find that the same way with all the leaders that you work with, that asking questions and keeping up with how your people are changing can be tiresome at times?
Mm-hmm. It can, and that always generally leads to the mentality of how lonely it is at the top, because they don't feel that that they're always putting out fires and no one's going to like them because they have to make the hard decisions. But for some reason, what we do is, as leaders, we tend to forget the relationship piece when we get to that work or get to that positional space. When we're at home or we're dealing with family or we're dealing with friends, we communicate fine. We're able to get accomplished what we want to accomplish just fine. But why is it that we take off this hat, put on the other hat, and all of a sudden now we have let those skills fall out the window, and we can't figure out how to do that with people that we lead? And that's always a big challenge.
So I want to get everyone to this point where they can see the employee experience behaviors that we were able to put together in the form of a graph. I think everyone will get some real value out of it. The fact that you can actually see what's happening in real time to your people. Mm-hmm. But I want to start out first with, I want everyone to understand a little bit more about who you all are and what you all do, so they understand where you're speaking from.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we are Sherri and Lou. We are a husband and wife duo with the Lou Everett Group, and we are business and executive leadership coaches and corporate trainers. And we love to help our clients get from where they are to where they are intended to be, with them becoming just more aware of their stuckness and utilizing our systematic approach that we have. Mm-hmm. So we love transforming leaders at every level, especially to get them where they need to go.
And my name is Vinay Rahman. I'm the CEO of a company called CAARMO. We build a tool called Performance Intelligence. And the reason we built it is because so many people have data and they use Microsoft Excel as their tool of choice to do the visualizations and analytics. And I will tell you, having been in the space for a long time, Microsoft Excel is a very limited tool in terms of what it can tell you. And what we aim to show you here is that by using the tool and some of the expertise insights that come from what Sherri and Lou do, you can actually start to see much deeper into your organization, and really, really easily. Mm-hmm. So Sherri and Lou, I'd like to share my screen here and give people an example of what that tool looks like and orient them to it, and how they can start to draw from that.
Great.
Give me a moment here. We are going to do a screen share in just a second, as soon as I can get my act together. Looks a little different. I just changed my browser. Funny how the technology changes. So let me introduce you to what you're looking at here. What you're looking at is called what I call an empathy graph or behavioral graph. What we've done is we've done a employee experience survey, just asking employees how they're feeling. And in this case, we've given some random names to people so that you can kind of associate an image with it. Let me walk you through this. This graph assume that the outside edge, the farthest out edge, the bigger the graph, the blue area, means the more satisfied they are. And the closer they are into the center, the less satisfied they are. So the best case scenario is that all of your employees are telling you, this is completely blue. They love where they are and they love it on every single dimension. And the opinion to their boss, it matters. Well, in this one, it shows that this employee believes that their opinion matters to their boss. Are they well paid? Do they have meaningful work? They have challenging work. Is their salary good? Does their opinion matter to their coworkers? Is there high level? Do they have weekly stress? They don't have much, and they do have a lot. Do they have promotion options? Do they have growth to their tasks? Are they looking for a job? So what we've done is we've taken, in this case, Chad is the name we've assigned to it. We see in the background, there's this gray, which shows you the average employee at this company, how they feel. Chad, relatively speaking, he seems to be a pretty satisfied employee. You can see out of 100, they've got a 64 out of 100. And you can take a look at each one of these. Looking for a job, he's looking for a job, but maybe it's because his opinion doesn't matter to his coworkers and he doesn't have meaningful work. Doing well in lots of other dimensions, but he's getting frustrated is kind of what I see out of this. Sherri and Lou, I'm curious how you look at this and what kind of insights you get out of looking at this yourself.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things you can pull out of this. The very first thing that stood out to me is the gray area, because from what I'm seeing here, Chad's not the only one looking for a job.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. If you've got a team of people that you're leading, and the majority of them are looking for another job, that's a problem. So that's the first thing I see. And of course, Chad, especially Chad at this level, is absolutely not happy. And the fact of the matter is, if he's looking for a job now that we're finally able to pull the data, he most likely has been looking for a while and will probably not be there much longer. So that is one of the first things I see out of this.
For me, when I see this, it just confirms what we've been seeing thanks to the Great Resignation, which is just the symptom of what we're seeing. So imagine if you're an organization and you got to this ahead of time, then you wouldn't see all your people running out the door, because you could see firsthand, as you could see, they're looking for a job. There's meaningful work, which is low, and the opinion to the coworkers is super low. And so just that alone, imagine if we could tweak that and they wouldn't be out the door, they would stay. So that's what I think this just confirms what we've been seeing all along.
It's interesting that you see on this, though, too. Another thing to take a look at is that Chad's paid well. At least he feels he is. He feels that his opinion is being heard by his boss. So that his work is challenging enough. But so there's something else there. In other words, Chad doesn't feel that he is a part of a bigger picture. It doesn't seem as if he's really engaged into the full purpose of what his role is, and perhaps he doesn't know.
And again, it's another common, right? It's another common theme.
People doesn't matter what you pay them. Obviously, Chad's like, I don't really care how much you're paying me. I'm not happy. I'm looking for another job.
Yeah, there's been so much emphasis on this idea, but if you pay them enough, and I know people know that there's shades of gray to that, but this kind of shows you that in this case, Chad may be well paid, but that's not what's getting him frustrated here, right? And so that's one thing what you've got to do. And I think you brought out a great point here is that the management, I mean, if the opinion matters to the boss, well, the management is leaning in, they're doing something here. I got to imagine there's frustration. If Chad leaves right now, talk about how burned that boss will feel. I spent so much time on you and you still left, right? Gosh, we can avoid
time
this.
and money. Yeah.
I want to bring up another graph. I'm going to select from just kind of another random person, so I don't know what's actually going to show up here. Let's pick up Sally. Let's see what happens with Sally. Oh gosh, a completely different picture here, right? I'll let you all go first. What do you all say?
Well, once again, we're paid well. Sally's paid well.
Yeah, paid well. Tasks are good.
Work is challenging. But she doesn't obviously feel as if what she's doing has any value at all. She doesn't appear to really be engaged with her boss, or vice versa, or both. And because it's so that's what we're seeing here. And again, another person looking for work, even further out than Chad previously. So, I mean, with the way things go nowadays, perhaps Chad and Sally are looking to start their own business in competition here. I don't know, but that's a plausibility. That's highly plausible. Certainly the similar challenges, and Sally is not going to be there as soon as she finds something that she feels she can add value to.
Yeah.
And again, this confirms the disconnect between the bigger picture, whatever the company or corporation, and what the managers see and what the employees see.
Mm-hmm.
Again, classic example of the disconnect and the gap that needs to be addressed.
Now, these are symptoms. This is one thing to make clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing through this data is the symptoms. So, because we have to know where to start. It's like going into a doctor. You have the symptoms of a cough and a fever or whatever it is. You've got these symptoms that lead to the solution. In this case, I mean, to me, it seems pretty obvious between Chad and Sally that the manager or the leader here is not engaging these two individuals, or even the majority, really. Even if you look at the opinions of coworkers, even the gray area is very light. It's very low in comparison to where it should be. It's pretty low compared to where it needs to be. So, I mean, where I come from, 38 is failing, and 31 in this case, as far as looking for a job, is failing.
Yeah. So just to give people a dimensionality, let's see if we can find someone who's doing better, right? So it's not all bad news, right? Let's see. Oh, all right. So here's one, Terrence, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Terrence has got a 68 out of 100. So it's possible that there are people who are actually okay with the role. I mean, in this case, Terrence, I mean, to the point, salary, he doesn't feel like his salary is actually on par with where he should be industry-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But he's actually willing to forego that because he feels engaged by his coworkers, engaged by his boss. He feels like it's meaningful work. And he feels like it could be a little more challenging. But, maybe Terrence is just this point in his life, the situation in his life. This is right for me today. Mm-hmm. That could change tomorrow, as it has for Chad and Sally. But this just kind of gives you a snapshot into how do I treat Terrence differently? Is that what you all are seeing?
Right. Is Terrence in a different department? Is his role different? How are we engaging Terrence? Obviously, here you'll see that Terrence doesn't believe that he's getting well paid, whereas the other two did believe that they were getting well paid and still were unhappy. In this case, Terrence like, yeah, I'm not getting paid that great, but I'm okay. I'm happy with what I'm doing. Again, it kind of reverse evidence of how somebody views they're getting paid is not nearly as important in this case as what they feel they're adding value to with the team and their role, and how that balances out with their life. How in harmony is that with their stressors? Here, Terrence's stress level is good; doesn't feel that stressed.
But you can see a connection to the meaningful work. Mm-hmm. That's huge, right? So if you do meaningful work, that speaks volumes. Yeah. So that's why the salary is not a huge issue. Whereas compared to the other two, salary was an issue because it wasn't meaningful work.
Yeah.
So the idea as a leader looking at this should be, honestly, is to connect that all together to say, hey, you're valued. Here's your salary, but you're also having meaningful work. And let's put these things together.
Mm-hmm.
What I like about being able to see this, right, between these three, I mean, Chad, Sally, and now Terrence, is that we've got something that, I mean, I'm always looking as a leader, I'm always looking to take action. What can I do next, right? But I always want to make sure I take the action that's moving in the right direction. And I got to tell you, that's baffled me for most of my life. What is the right thing to do? I think with Chad, Sally, and Terrence, for each one of them as individuals, I know what action, or at least I know what question to ask so that I can go figure out what action to take. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, because you're not going to know certain things like motivators unless you find out, unless you ask. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. Like each person's motivator in their work and what they're happy with is going to be different. But you're not going to know that unless you spend time with these people.
Actually have a conversation with them.
Right? Yes. Right. Converse. Or if you like the survey piece better, Vinay, your team can certainly create one to find out what those motivators are. We can add that, right? And I think that that's important to do, is whether we verbally take the time to have that conversation, which is highly preferable in some instances. In other instances, depending on the generation of employee, they're happy with being asked via text, email, or survey. They're okay with that. But it really depends. And it's a matter of you as a leader taking the time to understand that and asking those questions and asking the right questions, Vinay.
So part of the reason I like bringing you all to the table here for conversation is not only your expertise, is that you've got these 10 principles that is kind of this measuring stick for finding out, what do I do? And all right, so now I see this. I've seen two people that might need some attention. I see this one person that needs a different type of attention. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about those principles. I mean, what we've seen here in these three, Chad, Sally, and Terrence here. Talk to me about, the one or two principles that you would probably touch on as being really relevant here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think first, and thank you for that. Yeah, we do have the 10 principles that every leader must follow to lead with influence, and it can be measured. And every leader is different and every team is different. But these 10 principles that Sherri and I have narrowed down in our close to 5 decades of experience in executive leadership, business management, business leadership, and owning our own business over the last several decades are these 10 principles. And for this particular situation, I think it's imperative that we look at 2 of them. The others principle is number 1. So we'll start with that. The others principle states that it's not about you as a leader. It's about them. Because ultimately, if you provide your employees with what it is that creates that harmony between their work and their life and provides that value to who they are. Now, we're not, we got to understand there's a balance, because we have a bottom line, right? The responsibility is ours to accomplish the bottom line, but how we present that to them needs to be changed and shifted with the others principle in mind. So it's not about us, it's about them. So understanding our actions and how we approach things, our thoughts, and how we approach those that we lead. Everything that we say, everything that we do, how we view things needs to be intentional. And if it's not, it's certainly going to impact the dynamics of the team and the relationship between you or myself as the leader and those that I lead. So the others principle is certainly number 1. The second, the reflect principle.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we love this one because it actually, the reflection breeds intention with it. So you need to reflect every day. And I know we hear this a lot. We're like, well, how can I do that when I'm just stomping out fires all day, right?
Well, that's another topic.
That's another topic we can help you with. But that is very common. But that needs to happen. You need to have that reflection part and carve that in and be intentional with that particular principle that we have. Mm-hmm.
So reflect on that. Reflect on you as a leader, how you can do better, how you can improve, how you can make it about them, not about you, even when you're having difficult conversations. And there's a way to do that draws the person to you so that you get accomplished what it is you want to have accomplished. That's the goal, right? As a leader, is to get things done when you want them to get done, but in a way that actually is sustainable and can happen over and over and over again and be duplicated.
Yeah, so I think I heard 2 of them. Others, it's about understanding, so that empathy for others, and this allows you to gives you some ability to see that and have that empathy for them. And reflect is just, now that you see this, am I kind of just banging my head against a brick wall, or is there a better way around it?
Yes.
It gives you the opportunity to find the right path forward.
Yes.
So if you are leaders looking at this based on what you all know and the experience that you all bring to the table, one or two actions or takeaways that you would take from being able to see this, that you could take, I guess?
Number 1, reevaluate your current culture. Not from your perspective, but from your employees' perspectives. How do they view the culture? How do they view their position, their spot in the grand scheme of things, right? The grand purpose of your business and your company. Do they know what that is? Do they see themselves a part of it? That's number 1. Identify that. How do you do that? Well, perfect example. Let's get connected. with Vinay and myself and us to create a survey like this, or to grab that data so that you can see where to begin. If this is where we would begin right here is absolutely there. What value are we placing on those that you lead? Have communication with Chad and Sally. Have communication with these individuals to find out what drives them. Find out, why are you looking for work? I want to know, because I want to help provide you what you're needing. Mm-hmm. If you want to keep your employees. Now, if you don't, if it doesn't matter to you, if retaining your employees don't matter to you, if you want to cycle through people and you just want to get your job done only and it's all about you, that's fine. This isn't for you. You should have stopped watching this a long time ago. This is not about that.
That's right.
You do not qualify for this type of success, right?
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. You guys can do that.
That's it.
You can do that. That's right.
No problem. Do it on your own, because I always tell Sherri, because eventually you're going to come back around and ask anyway. It's going to happen.
My takeaway from this is just this idea that knowing your people is not knowing your people. It's it sounds a little woo, but it's about knowing your people, right? It's knowing kind of where Terrence's head is at. I mean, you can look at this, that Terrence's head is probably in a similar direction as yours as the leader. You can look at Chad and Sally from earlier and see their head is somewhere else. You have an opportunity as a leader to get that alignment, because alignment and clarity is job one as a leader. And if you can't create that alignment and clarity, you may not have the tool set to do it. And I believe here's the tools to give you that ability to create that alignment. And with the 10 principles that Sherri and Lou bring to the table, I think you can start to sharpen those tools to be exactly the way you want. Is that a fair way to wrap that all up?
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Show some action,
right? Do something about it.
So Sherri and Lou, if someone wants to get in touch with you, understand more about this or anything else, how do they reach out to get some of your expertise, maybe insights?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, reach us out on our website, www.loueverettgroup.com. We're also on LinkedIn and Facebook, as well as Instagram. So please reach out. Love to have a conversation with you.
And if you'd like to reach out to me to get graphs like this and visualizations and these assessments, feel free to reach out. CAARMO.com is the name of our website, CAARMO.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And I'll tell you, we have started building a library of assessments just like this, and would love for you to reach out if these assessments could be of value. It might give you a quick snapshot into what's happening in your organization, as opposed to spending lots and lots of money and time and just waiting for someone to walk out the door before you say, okay, now I need to do something. For all those who listen in, thank you for taking the time, sharing your time with us. Hopefully this is a good use of time. Sherri and Lou, thank you for your time and expertise.
You bet. Thank you, Vinay.
Okay.